Hey, all you lovely people, we got a fun video today talking about Scream 6 and who is most and least likely to be Ghostface. So stick around.
You're afraid of dying.
How do you know? You've never tried it before.
Alright, before I jump in, if you could, please give this video a like, consider subscribing, it really does help me out. And with that out of the way, let's jump into this. So, I didn't know this until today, but apparently MGM, the casino gambling company, releases odds on who is most and least likely to be Ghostface in the upcoming Scream movies. So, they released their odds today for Scream 6, and in researching that, I actually found their odds for Scream 5 as well. So I wanted to jump into both of those. First, let's jump into 6 and see what they got, and then I want to take a look back retroactively and see how close they were for Scream 5. So in part 6 here are their odds. Now, if you don't know how this works, I'll give you a really quick rundown. It works on basically a $100 system, and it's counterintuitive because the lower the number, that means the more likely they are to be Ghostface. So, for instance, we see Kirby at negative 500. What that means is on that $100 scale, if you bet $500 that Kirby is going to be Ghostface, and she is, you get your $500 back plus $100 in profit. And it's that way because she's more likely to be Ghostface. On the other side of the scale, we have Laura at a positive 200. What that means is if you bet $100 that Laura is going to be Ghostface, and she is, you get your $100 back plus $200 in profit. So that $100 scale basically means the negative numbers, you have to bet that amount to win $100 in profit, and the positive amounts, you have to bet $100 and then you get that amount as profit. So once again, it's counterintuitive because the lower the number, the higher chance you have of being Ghostface. The higher the number, the lower chance you have of being Ghostface. So with that in mind, let's have a look here. Their top 4 candidates of being Ghostface, according to MGM, are Jason, and that's Tony Revolori's character, at negative 575, Kirby at negative 500, Sam at negative 450, and Danny at negative 320. So, I don't want to make this video about if I agree with them or not. I will just really quickly say I don't agree with those numbers. But we'll move on from that. Those are their top 4 candidates to be Ghostface. And before I move on to their least likely candidates, the reason Vegas and these odds are the way they are is it's a collective. This isn't just them pulling numbers out of anywhere. They start at a more even plane, and then it changes based on how people vote, or how people bet, rather. So, say everyone's at negative 100, because that's a 1-to-1 bet. That's a 50-50. Detective Bailey is a negative 100. That means if you bet $100 and they are Ghostface, you get your 100 plus 100 in profit. A negative 100 is a 50-50 vote. There will never be a positive 100 because it's essentially the same thing. You'll start at a positive 110 and go up from there. So they essentially, for lack, just as a base explanation, they essentially start at a negative 100, and then once they calculate, take into consideration how people are betting, they change the odds. So this is based on the knowledge and critical thinking skills of the people who bet. You typically bet on things you know. So if people who know Scream, they're going to bet based on their knowledge of the past Scream movies and the formula and stuff like that. And this is why Vegas is usually very close. They're usually pretty accurate because the odds change based on how people are betting, and people are betting based on what they know. So these odds are based on a ton of people who know Scream betting that way. So that means the people who are betting think Jason, Kirby, Sam, and Danny are the 4 most likely characters to be Ghostface. Now, on the opposite side, we have Gail as the least likely to be Ghostface at a positive 520. Once again, that means if you bet $100 that Gail is Ghostface and she's revealed to be Ghostface, you win your $100 back plus $520. So Gail is a good bet if you Well, if you think she's going to be Ghostface. So their top 4 are Gail, Mindy, Chad, and Annika. Those 4 people are the least likely to be Ghostface according to MGM. I agree with that. Don't want to make it about my agreement with their list, but I will say I agree with those. I don't think there's a chance that they become Ghostface. Now, let's look at Scream 5. Let's see how accurate they were with Scream 5. So if we bring up, here are their odds for Scream 5 in 2021. At first glance, you're like, oh, well, they didn't really get it right. Take this into consideration. There are 13 names here, and the top 4 most likely characters to be Ghostface includes both of the Ghostfaces. So they were close. They were really close. And that's why I used the top 4 and bottom 4 on the other lists. If we go back and look at that other list, the bottom 4, or rather the top 4 most likely, is Jason, Kirby, Sam, and Danny. So if there are only 2 killers, which is highly suspected there's going to be more, but if there are only 2 killers, if we use the odds from last year, or from the last movie, odds are the 2 killers are going to be in that group of 4. I don't know if I believe that, but those are the odds. Now going back, they have Liv, Amber, Wes, and Richie as being most likely in that order. Obviously, we know Liv and Wes weren't, but Amber and Richie were. They were Ghostface. Sydney, obviously, being a plus 1,000 is kind of funny. That means if you bet $100 Sydney was going to be Ghostface, you would win your 100 back plus 1,000 profit. That's kind of amazing to me. But they were pretty close. They were pretty close in those odds. So that makes me a little worried about the odds of this movie. So essentially, what we have to count on is the filmmakers to do something new and be unpredictable, because that's what throws these odds off. If the filmmakers do something we aren't expecting, well, then these odds don't matter, because these odds reflect what the people who are betting expect to happen. So we have to cross our fingers and hope that the filmmakers make it unpredictable. All right, y'all. That's what I got. I just thought this was a fun video. It's fun seeing what other people think, and this is like tens of thousands of people betting. So this is a lot of people's thoughts rolled up into one little photo of odds. Let me know what y'all think down in the comments. Do you think they're onto something here? Do you think they're more accurate? Do you think they're getting it right based on the trailers, based on how close they were with Scream 5 and their odds for that? Let me know if you think they're correct. Let me know what you think is going to happen. Who do you think the killer is going to be? All right, everyone. This is where I'm going to leave you. Have a lovely, safe weekend. I love you all.